Good morning, dear students of 11th class. Most welcome to our online class. How are you? Hope you all are well. You know that we are discussing right form of verbs. This is my third class on this topic, that is on right form of verbs, and I hope that you attended in my previous classes and learned some think about the right form of verbs. Anyway, today I have selected the topic use of past form of verbs, because previously we have dealt with the base form, use of base form of verbs, use of progressive form. We have already discussed the ing form of verbs, the differences in my previous classes. You know that we discussed the differences among gerund, participle and continuous form, that is the ing form of verbs, and many other things, of course. Anyway, let us start today's class, use of past form of verbs. Today's topic, you know, and I am not going to discuss details, the definition of tenses, the definition of past tense, etc. That is what should I say, something different from my topic, because my emphasis is one just to discuss where to use the past form of verbs. This will be my focus always, not to discuss the form of tenses or to show the characteristics of the nature of tenses, or just to give definition of tenses. No, just let me proceed to the practical way. That is how to use different forms of tenses in our practical life. Anyway, still just I would like to remind you that what is a past tense or past tense. What does a past tense verb do? The past tense form of verbs or the past tense verbs describe an action or an activity, some actions or some activities, or an events or states or beings that happened in the past, that have already happened, you know. So, past tense, it has some subcategories. I am coming there. That is, there are some subtypes of past tense, you know. Within past tense, we have 4 types of tenses. I am coming there, but still, you should remember that past tense verbs always describe some actions or activities or events or beings or states that happened at a definite time in the past. That is, the activities or the actions that have already completed, that have already been completed, that have already happened. This type of actions, these type of activities are indicated by the past form of verbs. Okay. For example, I visited my country home yesterday. I visited my country home yesterday. As it is yesterday, that is, it is a past action. My visit to my country home has already completed or already happened. Nothing remains in future. That is why it is past. And then the liberation war of Bangladesh took place in 1971. In 1971, about 49 years back, as this action, this event of our war of independence or liberation or took place in 1971, or our language, our glorious language movement took place in 1952, as the language movement happened in 1952. So, this is a complete action. These actions, the liberation of Bangladesh or the language movement of Bangladesh or Bengalis, as this took place, this happened in past, that is, all these are the completed actions. That is why these are indicated by the past tense. Anyway, within past tense, we have 4 subtypes. That is, past tense is of 4 types: simple past tense, past progressive tense, past perfect tense, and past perfect progressive tense. Simple past tense: I looked at the sea. I looked at the sea. This is the example. These are the subtypes of past tense, and these are the examples. Notice here, I looked at the sea. So, simple past tense just describes an action that has already happened. Simply, simple past tense describes an action or an event or some activities or states or beings that have already happened. I looked at the sea, that is, the action is already completed. The action of looking at the sea, the action of visiting the sea have already been completed by me. So, simple past tense simply describes an action which simply happened in the past. Simple past tense, or I can give an example. We visited the grocery yesterday. We visited the grocery yesterday. This is simple past tense. We visited the grocery yesterday. Simple past tense, visited, grocery. We visited the grocery yesterday, as it is yesterday. So, past time. The simple past tense simply describes an action or some activities or states or beings which have already happened in a simple way. And then past progressive tense, another name of this subtype of past tense is past continuous tense. You can, yes, of course, you can remember in this way if it is easier for you to remember, that is past continuous tense. Past progressive tense, the example is I was looking at the sea. I was looking, You should notice the structure. Here in simple past tense, just subject plus past form of verb plus object. Subject, what is the structure of simple past tense? At first you should put the past form of verbs, the subject, and then the past form of verbs, and then the object, if any at all, and any extension if there is any. This is the structure of past indefinite tense. Simple past tense, another name is past indefinite tense. And what is the structure? The basic structure of past indefinite tense is subject plus past form of subject plus past form of verbs. And then past progressive tense or past continuous tense, I was looking. Here I subject was looking. We have to use was or were in the case of active voice of past progressive tense. I was looking. Then continuous tense in active voice always takes ing form, as we have already discussed this. We discussed this in details in our previous classes. That is, continuous tenses or progressive tenses in active voice, not in passive voice. Active voice always takes ing form. So, and this is continuous form of verbs, as continuous form of verb is always preceded by an auxiliary. We explained this in our previous class. as here is an auxiliary verb, that is was or were, and then ing form is used here. I was looking at the sea. What does it do? It indicates some ongoing action of the past. So, past progressive tense indicates, refers to some ongoing action of the past, ongoing action. I was looking at the sea, that is, it was going on, ongoing action, but not for a long time. If went on for a long time in the past, some action, then it becomes past perfect progressive tense. So, the difference between past progressive tense and past perfect progressive tense, the difference is in time duration, that is in duration. Okay, I am coming back there. I was looking at the sea. So, here the structure is, in past progressive tense, the structure is subject plus was oblique were plus main verb plus ing. And what does it do? It describes an action or some activities or some events or states or beings which, that is some ongoing action, some ongoing events, some ongoing beings, some ongoing activities of the past. For example, Julia was swimming in the pool. Another example, here I have given one example, I was looking at the sea. In the same way, let me give another example, Julia was swimming in the pool. Julia was swimming, This is past progressive. This is an example of past progressive tense, that is Julia was swimming in the pool. So, was swimming, that is, as we have already mentioned, past progressive tense is to indicate an ongoing action in the past, Julia was swimming in the pool, that is, the action was going on, but not for a long time. If it was for a long time, for example, if I say Julia had been swimming in the pool for a long time, it becomes past perfect progressive tense. Anyway, then third subtype, past perfect tense. I had looked at the sea, past perfect tense. What does it do? Past perfect tense is to indicate a completed action in the past, a completed action, a completed event, a completed being, a completed states or events of the past, completed action. And what is the structure of this tense? I had looked at the sea, had looked, that is subject, this is subject, then had plus past participle form of verb. This is the structure of past perfect tense. Subject plus had plus past participle form. As in our previous classes, we described that perfect tense always takes, in perfect tense, the main verb is always past participle form. We have to use the past participle form of main verbs in all types of perfect tenses, whether it is active voice or it is passive voice. Whenever you get any perfect tense, you have to use the past participle form of main verbs, and this is not also exception here. The past perfect tense, I had looked at the sea, I had looked at the sea. Remember the structure here, subject plus had plus past participle form of verbs. So, what does it do? It indicates a completed action of the past, that is, I had looked at the sea, the action is no more, the action had already been completed. So, past perfect tense indicates it is to refer to a complete action of the past. Let me give another example. Another example of past perfect tense. Emily said that she had visited the mall. She had visited. Emily said that she had visited the mall. A complete action has been indicated here. Complete action. So, in past perfect tense, a complete action is indicated. Always, Emily said that she had visited the mall. She had, subject plus had plus past participle form of verbs. And then let us proceed. The last one, past perfect progressive tense, or another name is past perfect continuous tense. I had been looking at the sea. Look at the structure, subject plus had been always plus main verb plus ing, as it is continuous or progressive. As in our previous classes, we discussed that continuous tense does not matter whether it is perfect continuous or progressive, just simple continuous. Continuous tense always, in the case of active voice, continuous tense always takes ing verb at the end of the verbs, that is ing verbs. In continuous tense, we are to use the ing form of main verbs, and this is the structure of the past perfect progressive tense, subject plus had been plus main verb plus ing. And this past perfect progressive tense is to indicate an ongoing action that would be completed at some definite point of time. So, this also indicates an ongoing action, as I was saying here. Past progressive tense indicates an ongoing action of the past. Here, past perfect progressive tense also indicates an ongoing action of the past that would be completed at definite point of time. At some definite time, this would be completed. This is the difference. As I was saying that here the duration, the difference between past progressive tense and past progressive tense and past perfect progressive tense, the difference is in duration. That is, here we get shorter time. The action was going on here in the past progressive tense, and in past perfect progressive tense, the action is going on. Both the past progressive tense and past perfect progressive tense describe an ongoing action of the past. No doubt, both this past progressive tense and this past perfect progressive tense, both of these perfect continuous tenses, they describe an ongoing action of the past, no doubt, but the difference is in the duration. That is, here we get past progressive tense, we get a shorter period of time, but here in past perfect progressive tense, we get a longer period of time. That is, I was looking at the sea. Here, I got a shorter time. That is, I was looking at the sea not for a long time, but for shorter period of time. But here, I had been looking at the sea for a long time within the bracket. You should use for a long time. That is, the time duration is longer here than from here, that is from past progressive tense. Here the time is shorter, and here in past perfect progressive tense the time is longer. So, the difference is in duration. For example, they had been driving for 24 hours. They had been driving for 24 hours. Yes, for 24 hours. So longer time. But if you say they were, that is I was, if you use past progressive tense here, they were driving for 24 hours. Grammatically, it is wrong because it covers a longer period of time, and an action which covers a longer period of time should be used in past perfect progressive tense, not in past progressive tense. But in spoken English, it is not wrong at all. But only in the case of formal English, this may be considered as mistake, wrong. But in the case of day-to-day English or just spoken English, informal English, it is not wrong. That is, you can use also here the past progressive tense, that is, they were driving for 24 hours. No doubt, this is okay in informal English. But in formal English, you have to use the past perfect progressive tense here, as the duration is longer here. They had been driving for 24 hours. So, dear students, most probably you have understood these 4 subtypes of past tense. And now, let me proceed to another rule, very small. I am going to finish almost at the end of the class, but just one rule, I will take just 2 minutes. Let me give some examples. Another rule, you may consider this as rule number 2, today's, and which I have already discussed, I have completed. You can consider that is rule number 1 under the heading use of past form of verbs. And rule number 2, just let me explain through some examples. In those days, people were nomads. Notice, in those days, and then people were. We met beside the lake the other night. Long ago, there was a king named Suleiman. I have given 3 examples here. What I mean here, in first example, in those days, people were nomads. I have used in those days, and then we met beside the lake the other night. Here I have used the other night, the phrase, and here long ago. In each of the case, I have used a phrase which indicates something past. For example, in those days, that is in the past, we met beside the lake the other night. The other night means 1, 2 or a few evenings ago. The other night means just 1, 2 or just a few evenings ago. Maybe the other night. So, it also indicates something past. And then long ago means, of course, past, before, long before. What happens? So, what have I done here? As I am getting some phrases here which indicate some past action. So, I have used the past form of verbs, that is in those days, and it indicates past action. So, I have used were here. If you use people are nomads, this will be wrong. Nomads means vagabond. Nomads means people who do not have any permanent abode and who travel from place to place looking for the fresh pasture for their livestock. Jajabor, nomads. So, nomads means people who do not usually have the permanent abode. So, they are traveling from place to place looking for fresh pasture for their livestock. So, people were nomads, and then we met beside the lake the other night, as the other night means just 2 or 3 or just a few evenings ago. So, as this indicates, this phrase indicates the past time. So, I have used we met, past form of meet, you know. And then here long ago there was, I have used was here because before, it indicates before. So, what is the rule? The rule is that whenever you get any words or phrases in a sentence which indicate in any way any past action, then we have to use the past form of verbs. I repeat, rule number 2, whenever you get any phrase or any word in a sentence which indicate that the action stated in the sentence happened in the past, whenever you get this type of word or phrases expressing or indicating the past event, then you have to use the past form of verbs. We hope that we will be able to resume our discussion from the point where we are living today. Okay, dear students, we will start from here, from the point we are living today. So, let us stop here. Thank you very much for joining me live.